Hey, how's everybody going? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 7 4 key game picks. Before we talk about Week number 7, Week 6. It was a pretty interesting Week 6, other than the fact that I think the theme for Week number 6 is NFC East dominance. Because if you look at the current standings right now in the NFC East, 3 teams in that division, the Washington Commanders right now are subpar right now. They're under 500. Of course, the Eagles are still the only remaining undefeated team left. They haven't lost. They had a big win over the Cowboys, and it was a great win for the Eagles right now. They going undefeated at 6-0, and it was an important win for them getting that over the Cowboys, because it's definitely meaning a lot of what could be first place on the line, regardless. And if you look at the NFC East right now, of course, the Eagles 6-0. The Giants are 5-1 with an impressive win over the Ravens. They had to come from behind, and the culture has really changed a lot for the Giants. They've really turned things around. Obviously, a new coach that has come in right now. He's done a fantastic job with this team. Not only that, you're taking away Wade Martindale from the Ravens defense as the DC there. And it has really dramatically changed the culture of the Giants. And this is really going to be interesting down the stretch how far the New York Giants are going to go, because they look to me now as a dangerous team now. But let's just see what happens down the road, because eventually they might have some slip-ups. But I look at it this way, 5-1 right now and battling for first place in that division, and eventually that matchup with the Eagles is coming up very soon, so that definitely could mean control of that NFC East. The Cowboys, don't count them out just yet at 4-2. Still a little bit of question marks whether or not that Cooper Rush will still be the quarterback, or will Dak Prescott be healthy enough. And by looks of it, I'm only making a prediction, but by looks of what I've been reading, is that Dak Prescott, there's a chance he's going to play against the Lions this coming week. So it's really going to be interesting right now to see if there's really any QB controversy in the Cowboys. As far as going on the AFC side, obviously the game that only mattered last Sunday definitely was the Bills and Chiefs. Obviously, some deja vu that happened in the first half of that game, were one big play for a touchdown for the Bills, and then all of a sudden, 16 seconds, and then the Chiefs came back and kicked a game-tying field goal to end halftime tied up in the game. But luckily, the Bills' defense finally stepped up and made a huge interception in the end to seal the game. And this right now is definitely, if things go according to plan for both the Chiefs and the Bills, no question, that already right there determined home field advantage right there. The Super Bowl in the AFC might go through Buffalo. But it's very hard to say right now, because you just can't count out the Chiefs, and we don't know what the rest of the way holds for the Bills in their schedule. They got some tough games coming up very soon. So really, it's going to be really interesting to say right now. Look, there's a lot of things that went on in week number 6 that I could go and do a topic on, but we really need to get to week number 7 in my picks, because my videos have been pretty long lately, and I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. I know it's hard. A lot of us don't have that. Our attention spans aren't that good. I'm one of them. I'm not going to lie about that one. My attention span isn't all that good either. Anyways, let's get serious here. Let's talk about week number 7, shall we? All right, let's begin with key game number 1. Now this week, it doesn't look like that much intriguing matchups, maybe. But bear with me here on my picks here, because obviously a lot of good teams are on their bye, and this is my 4 key game picks here, and I know there's probably going to be some question marks. Maybe you should talk about these two teams or these two teams here. But it was really hard to look at the schedule and see what could be the more intriguing matchups, or what could be games that basically are very important for some teams. All right, first key game here we're going to talk about is the Saints against versus the Cardinals. This is the Thursday night game, and obviously the Thursday night games have been god awful. Other than the first Thursday night, other than week number 2's Thursday night game on Prime, where really the Chiefs and Chargers have been the only good game of Thursday night so far. Other than that, it's been dismal the last few games. But this one might be a bit intriguing here, because for both these two teams, they're both at 2-4 and are desperate for a win, especially right now as they're trying to creep up back in their respective divisions. Now, I still have no word yet whether Jameis Winston will come back. But by the looks of it, Dalton will still be the starting quarterback until Winston is ready to play. Now, Dalton went 17 of 32, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Obviously, in a hard-fought game they played against the Bengals ended up winning in the end. Now, Arizona's been on the decline big time, but they did trade for a wide receiver from the Panthers. I forget the player's name, but you guys can put it in the quotes. I mean, I'm still trying. This week I've been pretty busy, and I'm trying to keep up with all the NFL news. They traded for a wide receiver, so Kyler Murray might have some help here. So I look at it this way. Kyler Murray, 23 of 37, 222 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. Now, the Cardinals are slight 1.5 point favorite in this one here, and it wouldn't surprise me if this goes to 1 before Thursday's game. A game that both teams need basically to just stay alive in their respective divisions. Now, obviously, I think for the Cardinals, they need this just as much as the Saints do. Well, given the fact that both divisions, that all the first place teams are all tied at first place in both the NFC South and the NFC West. So obviously, for both these two teams, this is important to stay alive in their respective divisions here. A lot of it's going to determine right now, which offense is going to put up points here. Which defense will definitely make any plays here. Both teams are about as evenly matched as it can get in terms of offense and defense here. So this definitely will be a low-scoring game. I don't think it'll be like a shootout or a high-scoring game. It'll probably be like a 17-14 type of game here. This actually might be a good one in Arizona. But it's really, really tough to say who wins this game because this could go either way. This might go to pick'em in this going into Thursday because it's hard to say which team has the advantage here. But if I'm going to make a pick here, I think the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to go with the Saints plus 1.5. I think the Saints, they're more desperate for a win as much as the Cardinals are. But in terms of talent and all that, the Saints kind of do have a much better offense than the Cardinals do. But it's a tough game to pick, and it's really hard to say who's going to win this one here. But I have to make a pick here. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints here, plus 1.5 in this one here. It's going to be a very close game. It's going to be low scoring, but I'm going to pick the Saints here. I think the Saints will pull out a victory here. I think it's going to be a decent game on Thursday. I don't think it's going to be one of the crappy games that's been the last 3 weeks. I'm picking the Saints in this one here. It's a tough one here. The Saints to basically stay alive in the NFC South, and hopefully for the Cardinals, they get some things back on track, but they are in danger now of basically being out of contention if they go 2-5 here. So, yeah, I'm picking the Saints here. Saints over the Cardinals. All right, key game number 2. A big one in the AFC South, excuse me. The Indianapolis Colts versus the Tennessee Titans. It is definitely a big one here for both these two teams because the Colts are really starting to put things together now. Tennessee right now, they're barely clinging to that first place tie right now in that AFC South division. Now, the Colts would Matt Ryan, 42 of 58, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Well, now the Titans had their bye week last week, so these are Tannehill's Week 5 stats. And basically a win that they barely won. Obviously, they played Washington, and Washington basically screwed up. Tannehill, 15 of 25, 181 yards, 1 touchdowns, and luckily he had no interceptions here. It boils down to Henry. He's got to get the running game going for Tennessee, and that's been one of the things that Indianapolis had struggled with the first few weeks of the season was the run. Their defense is starting to get a little bit better here, but knowing the power running game that the Titans have, it eases up a lot of pressure off of Tannehill. And that's definitely the key for the Tennessee Titans to win this game here. Now, the Titans are a 2.5 point favorite. We'll probably go down to 2 before kickoff, maybe a 1.5. And that is one of the keys that they have to have in order to beat the Colts here. The Colts, for now, they basically can't turn the ball over because they've been a team that's turned the ball over a lot this season. And it is going to be huge to see if the Colts can play flawlessly. They were fortunate enough to not have they're fortunate right did not have an interception last week. But really, the Titans defense really needs to get some things going here. They got to make some plays here. in this game. This is another tough pick here. It definitely first place is on the line in the AFC South. And obviously I got to make a pick here. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans here. I think the Titans in that running game, and the power running game with Henry, if they get it going here, the Colts are going to have a hard time in this game putting a stop to it. And that is my justification for this one here. I think the Titans will barely beat the Colts. It's definitely going to be a close game here. But I'm going to pick the Titans here. I think the power running game with Henry, if they get that going here, it's going to be tough for the Colts to stop. I'm picking the Titans in this one. The Titans minus 2.5. Titans over the Colts. Okay, the next two picks here are going to be in relations to the AFC West and the NFC West. And what I mean by this, here are the next two key games here. Key game number 3, it is the Chiefs versus the 49ers. This is desperation time for the 49ers right now because after the dominant win they had against the Rams, for some reason they basically had they fell apart against the Falcons last week. Now, and obviously Mahomes in a tough game he had against the Bills, in a game that the Bills in the end ended up winning. It was a very good football game. Now, Patrick Mahomes was 25 of 40, 338 yards, 2 touchdowns, but of course the 2 interceptions killed him in that game against Buffalo. Now, Garoppolo 29 of 41, 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 interceptions here. The Chiefs are a 3-point favorite in this one. They're favored by a field goal here. I would say that's about right. The Chiefs are a much better team. They have a better offense here. And obviously the 49ers have to do something, their defense has to really get to Patrick Mahomes in this game and being able to put a stop to anything he does with the football. The thing about the 49ers, they desperately need Bosa back. Nick Bosa's really been missed on that defense here, and it's really been hard for that defense to really become dangerous. And I don't know if he's going to come back for this game. If they do get him back, it will help their defense to try to get to Patrick Mahomes here. But when you look at this football game, the Chiefs have a better offense. They're more talented than the 49ers are. And I'm going to pick the Chiefs here. I think the Chiefs will beat the 49ers here. I don't think the 49ers will have enough. It wouldn't surprise me if they make this a football game, but I'd say the Chiefs will win by a touchdown here, or probably by 10, because the 49ers defense here, they've really taken a hit with injuries and are missing Bosa, and I really think that's my other justification for the Chiefs here. I think they'll win by 10. The 49ers are trying to make this a football game, but I think the Chiefs are just going to be too much for the 49ers to handle in this one here, and I'm going to pick the Chiefs minus 3, Chiefs over the 49ers. And finally, key game number 4. Once again, as I mentioned, between the AFC West and the NFC West, the last key game of this one here is the Seahawks versus the Chargers. Chargers are a touchdown favorite in this one here, and that number should be much lower. They didn't play all that impressive against the Broncos, and they almost lost that game in overtime. Obviously, the Chargers got bailed out on a muff punt. And really, in terms of the offense and defense, look, the defense played a lot better than the offense did. And that is one of the things that the Chargers offense has to get going. Hopefully they'll get Keenan Allen back for this one here, because I think if Keenan Allen comes back for the Chargers here, it'll definitely be a lot of choices for Justin Herbert to give the ball to. Obviously, they've relied a lot on Mike Williams, and obviously he didn't get that many touches last week, which they really needed him. But obviously they're waiting for Keenan Allen to come back. Hopefully he'll come back for this one here. Now let me get into the stats here for the quarterbacks here. Geno Smith went 20 of 31, 197 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It was kind of a sloppy game they had against the Cardinals, but they still got the win. Justin Herbert was 37 of 57 passes, 238 yards, no touchdowns, but he had 1 interception. Basically, it was a tip ball that went to the Broncos' way. It wasn't really all his fault. It comes down for the Chargers defense here. Now, can they really get to Geno Smith in that offense? Because the Seattle Seahawks offense has been clicking a bit, even though they had a sloppy game against the Cardinals. But you can't underestimate what Geno Smith has done with that Seahawks team. The Seahawks really have surprised everybody. They're still in the NFC. They're still in it. They're tied in that NFC West right now. And obviously this is basically for trying to keep up with everybody in that division, as well as the Chargers trying to keep up with the Chiefs as they're tied for first place. It comes down to who doesn't turn the ball over and which defense will step up in this game. The thing about it is, though, the Seahawks, I think, are going to run into a buzzsaw here. The Chargers defense hasn't looked this good in years. And that's my justification why I'm going to pick the Chargers in this game. It's the defense. Now, obviously, the offense really has to make some plays here. Justin Herbert really has to get the offense going. Eckler has been running the ball a little bit more effectively, even though he did take a step back in the Broncos game against the Broncos. But I just think that if the defense gets to the Seahawks offense here, I like the Chargers in this one here. It is definitely going to be a very close game in this one here. I'm gonna pick the Chargers here, but I think the Chargers will win by a field goal. It's probably going to come down to a field goal again, and who knows what the kicking game situation is with Hopkins still has the hamstring problem. So that's going to be a huge factor going into this game. But the Chargers defense will definitely give them a lift here. I'm going to pick the Chargers here. It's definitely going to be a close game here. I'll take the Chargers -7 here. Chargers over the Seahawks. All right, everybody. I've talked too much here. All right, I'll talk to you guys next week when I make my picks for week number 8. For all of my week 7 picks, please check the description below, and I'll talk to you guys next week. So take care and enjoy your football weekend.